What is going on, guys? Getting back to you with another upload after a very, very, very long absence. Um, so, kind of got some things that I'd like to kind of talk to you guys about today. And I figured the best way to talk about it would be, you know, over a video of Farming Simulator 22, playing on the Michigan Farms map. Um, and yes, even though I'm from Ohio, I did take a liking to this map just for the simple fact that I like the layout, I like the fields, and you have access to many barns like the ones that you are seeing now on the screen. So, before I kind of get into this video, um, I kind of just want to take a quick second to kind of just say that, I appreciate those who have subscribed, who watch my videos, give me likes. Um, I appreciate that, you guys have not gone anywhere during my long absence. And just want to say that um, I apologize for not keeping the promises that I said, were going to happen. Last few videos that I have uploaded, which this was a long while ago, I said that I was going to get better about uploading videos to YouTube, which I didn't really do a good job of. So, for those of you who are new to my channel, I've only seen maybe, more recent videos. I did not realize there was a ditch there. There's a driveway right there, and what do? I go through the ditch. Smart. Anyways, um, for those of you who are not aware, about 3 years ago, I started my own business. Okay? I got into lawn care, and my control button was stuck for some reason. Anyways, not to get off topic, I started my own lawn and landscape business here about 3 years ago, and since I have done so, my availability for free time to make videos and to just simply, do things here on YouTube have gone down to a very, 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 very minimal thing. Now, that's no excuse. There's always time to do other things besides work. Um, but one thing that you got to keep in mind here, folks, is that I'm only one person. And I don't have any employees just for the simple fact that, I'm a small business. Can't really afford any employees right now. So I do 99% of my work by myself. And when you're running a business by yourself, it tends to take a little bit more of your free time away than usual. Not saying that people who work, normal 9 to 5 jobs, don't get their time taken away too. I'm not saying that at all. But when you're running a business by yourself, doing all the work by yourself, taking care of, 30 plus lawns by yourself, you tend to not have as much free time as, like you probably would if you were just working for somebody as a full-time job and then having, weekends off. Now, take that however way you want, but when you run your own business, you don't work 9 to 5 every day. Sometimes I start earlier, and depending on how the weather is, I may tend to start just a little bit later. But with that being said, I normally work past 5 o'clock when it's busy. Now, when things kind of start to wind down for the year, I kind of start to get a little bit more, time to do things and may not work as many hours as I normally would. But where I'm trying to go with this is that just running my business by myself is just taking a lot of, time away from, YouTube and doing other things. So, I guess, for those of you who have stayed, still watch my videos, and are still, here as subscribers, all I'm going to say is that you're probably going to have to get used to me uploading rarely instead of often, which that's been the case here for quite some time, so I'm sure you guys are probably used to it by now. But needless to say, that family, the farm, my business, those 3 things come first. After all that is said and done, that's when the other things come into play, and I have time to do that stuff. For me, family, the farm, and my business have been one of the 3 main things that I've been focusing on here lately, just for the simple fact that some things have happened. We had harvest start, so that was kind of getting taken, was taking some time away, which, yes, this channel is based off of our family farm, but it just seemed like whenever I was in the field, I was coming straight from being out taking care of people's lawns to just heading right to the field, and I never would take my camera with me, which is something else I said I was going to get better about and never happened. But I guess when you have so much on your plate and you're trying to think about how you're going to get stuff done and try to get everything done in a week, you kind of tend to think about your work schedule and how you're going to get, your work done, rather than remembering to grab, my camera. So this past season, from spring all the way to fall, I've just had a lot on my plate, so to speak. I've expanded the amount of lawns that I've been taking care of. Had some family stuff going on, which I'm just going to kind of keep to myself. I did it again. And just kind of been focusing on, those things rather than worrying about uploading videos to YouTube. So I don't mind doing this. I enjoy uploading videos when I can, making videos when I can, showing you guys what I do on a regular daily basis. But there's a time and a place for it. And the way that things have been here this past season, it just has not been the proper time to make videos and try to make, videos out of stuff that you would not find entertaining. So, um, I've just been really occupied here these past few months, trying to get things squared away as far as making sure my business is staying afloat and making sure that the you know I'm helping out on the farm and that you know the family has been taken care of also. And what I mean by taken care of is making sure that I'm seeing them as often as I can, being there for them when I can, and just simply trying to be, the best family member that I can. So I apologize for everything kind of being on hold, but that's just kind of the way that it has been. So that's kind of why you didn't really see a whole lot of videos this fall. In fact, I didn't upload any, unfortunately, because, like I said, with the way that things were this season, I was only out in the field for a couple of hours, and every time that I would go to the field, I was not coming home and then going. I was finishing up my day and then going straight to wherever, you know, Dad and my sister were at, and I was there until, the rest of the night until we were done for the night. um, so this was not, overall, this just was not a good year for videos to be made and what have you. The shorts that you're able to upload here on YouTube was probably one of the best lifesavers that YouTube has ever come out with, because I always have my phone with me, and being able to make short little videos just to kind of show you guys what's been going on, when we've started, harvest, and what we've been doing in the field. And there's a light pole. So that really saved me, uh, being able to do that. That way I could upload, something for you guys to see, and then that, I was still alive and that things were still going on. But now that, things have wound down here for the year and it's starting to turn cold and we're pretty much done with field work, um, probably going to be doing a lot more of the gaming aspect of this channel until next spring. Which, that has basically been kind of what this channel has been based upon, just for the simple fact that making videos this way has been able to make my life a little bit easier. And I also feel that, making gaming videos for you guys is a lot more entertaining than what we would be doing, during the wintertime. Wrenching on stuff, making repairs and stuff like that. I'm sure some of you would probably take enjoyment to that, but I will be quite honest with you guys. I am not the most mechanically inclined person in the world. Never have been. Don't claim to be a mechanic. Hence the reason why I don't upload a lot of videos of what goes on in the shop. Just for the simple fact that I can do certain things, but it's not things that would be, you know, entertaining for you to watch. So, so that's kind of why I stay clear of uploading things that we do in the shop in the wintertime. And also during the wintertime, I'm usually in a plow truck. So if I'm not in a plow truck, I'm usually at home trying to catch up on sleep. Now, we don't get a lot of snow around here, and I don't work, a lot of hours during the wintertime. But it always seems like whenever we do get snow around here, it's either a lot or none at all. So I'm either out spreading salt for the little dustings that we get, or I'm pushing a crap ton of snow and we're out for long periods of time. But again, it seems that during the wintertime, there's just not a whole lot to do that's worth making a video out of. And a lot of that is my fault because, like I say, I'm not as mechanically inclined as some of the other guys that are on here that have, YouTube channels about their farm and how their farm works. So, and I admit, this channel is not a huge channel. I've been at the same number of subscribers for quite some time. And I'm to blame for that. It's not your guys' fault. Because, let's be honest, who wants to subscribe to a channel where the videos are rarely uploaded and a lot of it is repetitive or the same thing? The past, few, I guess I should say, for a while now, my channel has basically been spring tillage, harvest videos, gaming videos, and I do believe I uploaded one video of me out taking care of lawns. So there's kind of been a pattern to the kind of things that I upload. And again, it may seem kind of repetitive, but those are the only videos that I can really make that are worth watching, just for the simple fact that that seems to be the only thing that I do, which I'm not complaining. But when you run your own business, guys, you kind of tend to miss out on a little bit more than what you used to. When I first started this channel, I worked full-time for a landscape company and had a little bit more free time because he understood that I worked on a farm that our family farmed, and he was okay with me leaving early or not coming in when there wasn't a lot to do so that I could be part of the farm. Hence the reason why when this channel first started, I was able to upload a little bit more frequently and was able to make my videos a little bit longer and a little bit better. Also keep in mind, this was before I got my software. Well, yeah, before I got my software to edit videos. So, I guess what I kind of want to talk about now is how our season went, because obviously I didn't make any videos about it. So, kind of back up a little bit here to springtime. We kind of, we got a good start getting in the field, getting, fields, field cultivated and ready for planting. And there was a couple times where it got wet during the spring, especially towards, the end of spring. And it never fails. We always end up finishing out, planting season on the heavier dirt. Now the reason that is because when you first start the spring season, let's be honest, the first day of planting is not easy. It's usually the day that you spend working out the bugs in your equipment, your monitors, trying to get stuff working right so that way you are planting as efficiently as you possibly can. Now, something else that also kind of made this year a little bit interesting was we upgraded from a 12-row to a 16-row planter. And this was the first year, obviously, that we got to use it. So that was also something else that we kind of had to get used to, was getting used to a new planter and making sure that, the controls, we were doing everything right as far as the controls go, because again, it was a new setup. The way that our 16-row planter is set up to our planting tractor now is completely different from how everything was set up for our 12-row. There's not as many monitors in the tractor now. There's less buttons that you have to push. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. You still have a fair share amount of numbers that you have to push to make things work. But again, it was something that we kind of had to take slow and get used to because, one, it was a bigger planter. Two, it was set up different. And three, we've been planting with our 12-row for many, many years. And the setup that we also had for many years. And it was a setup that we were used to using. So when you make a major upgrade like that, you want to make sure that you're doing everything right and correctly to avoid little to no errors, especially when it comes to planting. You want to make sure you don't have spots in your field that aren't getting planted. You want to make sure that the planter is running okay, there's no malfunctions. And it was just one of them springs where we wanted to make sure that everything went smooth. So that was kind of how our spring went. So it took some time to get used to when we first started, but as spring went by, we got used to the way that the new setup worked, having a bigger planter, and with time, we got used to it, and it definitely paid for itself, having a bigger planter. It's amazing what 4 extra rows can do, So, kind of getting back into how things went overall, now that we've kind of covered, getting the new planter and, talking about, our new setup. Overall, spring was fine until the very tail end. We got some rain there towards the end of spring, and go figure, it was when we were planting the heavy dirt, and it usually tends to work out that way because we normally start up on the sand first, because one, that's the kind of soil type that we have around our farm, and the other neighboring fields that are close to the farm is also sandy. So when you first start planting, like I said earlier, you usually want to be close to home because, like I say, the first day of planting is usually the worst. That's when you work out all the bugs and the kinks and all that good stuff, and you just feel better being closer to home in case something does happen rather than being a half an hour away from the shop. So 9 times out of 10, we start up here on the sandy soils first, and then once we get all the sand planted, we head into the neighboring town, which is Waterville, and we start planting the heavier dirt. So, hence the reason why normally when it rains, it's usually when we're on the heavy dirt. So you kind of have to slow yourself down and make sure you don't do anything stupid when you're planting on clay dirt or heavy dirt. However, whatever you want to call it. We call it heavy dirt, clay dirt, whichever. When it comes to farming heavy dirt, it's not something that you can just go in and work and plant, especially when it comes down to moisture. Clay, heavy dirt, tends to obviously hold more water. And if you get on soil when it is wet, you will regret it for the rest of your life. You have to get on the soil when the time is right. If it rains, especially when you get a lot of rain, and it rains hard, not only can your equipment compact the soil, but so does the rain. If it's a nice, light, steady rain, where the field can take it and absorb it into the ground, okay, that is one thing. But when you get a really, really hard soaker, that leads to compaction. So you don't really want to go out and drive on your field that's wet and compact it even more. So for those of you guys that are not really familiar with farming heavier soils, and I know some of you guys that do follow me do farm heavier dirt, so I'm sure you guys understand what I'm talking about when I say that there is a time when the time is right to get on your soil, and you don't want to get in a hurry and try to get done ASAP when it comes to farming on heavier soils and getting a lot of rain and when the soil is wet. Because if you go in there and try to work the ground and try to plant it when it is wet, you're going to be able to tell come harvest time that you planted the field when it was wet. In fact, that's actually an incorrect statement. You will be able to tell that you planted the field too wet when it is growing, because 9 times out of 10 your crops will come up uneven. There will be spots where the corn comes up great, and there will be spots where the corn or soybeans or whatever you have planted comes up not so great. Which is why it is very, 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 very important that you do not get on heavy dirt unless the time and the conditions are right. Now, some of you are probably wondering, well, why don't you guys just go plant the clay ground first when it is drier and plant the sand later? Well, again, it kind of gets back to my other theory that I spoke about earlier. When you first start planting, it's just better to be closer to home. When you first start planting, something goes wrong, you got to take the planter back to the shop. If something happens to the planter, the tractor, whatever, you're better off to just take it back to the shop and be able to work on it at the shop rather than try to work on it at the field. Something else is that if we're up on the clay ground and something happens on the first day of planting, which I'm not saying that something normally does happen on the first day of planting, but you know how for those of you that have done this for a long time, I'm sure you guys know what I mean by the first day of planting is usually the worst. In my opinion, it's just better for us to start planting at home the first day rather than being away from the shop where all of our tools are, our spare parts are. It's just better for us to start up here at home rather than make multiple trips back and forth between the neighboring town and home, especially when you get rain. You're up here on the sand, you get a little bit of rain. It's probably not going to affect the sandier soils as much as the heavier dirt. If we're up on the clay dirt, we start planting up there, it starts raining. Oh, you gotta wait a little bit until stuff dries out. You pack up, you drive all the way back out here, plant on the sand, and then once the clay ground gets dried up, you want to go back there and continue where you started, so that way your crops are not coming up, all funky. And because if you're in a field, a bigger field, this has happened to us before. You're in a field, you're halfway done, there's rain coming, you want to pack it up and head for the shop before the rain comes. You get an inch of rain, you can't get on the field for 2 days, 2 or 3 days, whatever. You come back, you finish the field. The first half that you planted 3 days ago is going to be ahead of the other crops that you had to come back and finish. We have had that happen one time. One side of the field started coming up before the other half because we had to wait so long for the field to dry up. So that is kind of why we like to stay up here on the sand, get it planted first, then worry about the heavier dirt later on. And there's even been times where we've started up here on the sand, gotten the sand all planted, headed to the neighboring town, and started planting up on the clay. We get a rain, and we still end up having to wait a couple of days to get back at it. So I guess what I'm trying to kind of get at is that there really is no right or wrong way of doing things. If it works for you, do it that way, because it works. So everybody has their own way of doing things. This just happens to be the way that we do things on our farm. So overall, we had a pretty good spring planting season, other than towards the end where it got a little wet and we kind of had to take things a little bit slower. But we did get done in a pretty, at a pretty good, timely manner. So fast forward to this summer. Overall, we had pretty good weather this summer. It did get dry, had a couple dry spells. Man, what is with me and driving through this ditch? Good Lord Almighty. I need to pay attention here, code. Now I'm losing my train of thought. Oh yeah. Overall, we had a pretty good growing season during the summer. It did get a little dry on us, but we did get rains when we needed them. So lawn care business was also staying afloat as well. Had a couple times where things kind of got slow on me as well, and kind of was not as productive as usual, but again, we started to get the rains that we needed when it did get dry. And overall, I'd say we had a pretty good growing season. And the crops definitely showed it when we harvested them this past fall. So, spring and summer was alright. It was pretty good for the most part. Get into fall, and we had an amazing fall this year. We had, on average, we had a 58 bushel soybean crop, which I was kind of hoping that it was going to be a tick better. But there was some spots and there was some fields where the beans were not the greatest, and then there was some fields where the beans were phenomenal. So unfortunately, the beans that didn't do too well sucked down the overall average between all the fields. Now, as far as the corn goes, not really too sure on how corn went just yet, because we're still trying to figure out how many bushels we have right now. So we'll get that number at a later date, but I can tell you for a fact that we had a phenomenal corn crop because we had numbers that I seen on the monitor that I never thought I would ever see. The corn was just, it was a mind-blowing year for corn, for us, and just could not be happier with the way that the corn grew and performed. The lowest number that we had this year for an average on a farm was 180 bushel corn, and that was probably on the sandiest farm that holds little to no moisture and just isn't a field that, I would say it's a good farm, don't get me wrong, but it's not quote unquote a money maker by any means, but it's a good farm and it produces good crops on years like this where the weather is good. But anyways, the lowest number that we had average-wise was 180 bushels per acre. After that, everything was 215 to 220 bushel plus corn. So, could not complain about the corn crop in the slightest little bit. So we were able to get harvest done in a timely manner. We were able to get tillage done in a timely manner. And now things are pretty much wrapping up for the year. We have a little bit of snow on the ground. And it's looking like Old Man Winter is going to be swinging by here before long. In fact, I think he's here already, just for the simple fact that it is pretty cold out there, and we got some snow on the ground. Not a lot, but some. So I think it's safe to say that Old Man Winter is pretty much here. Even though it's not even Thanksgiving yet. He's definitely letting us know that he is in the air. So, overall, I'd say this year was a very productive and probably one of the best years that we've had in a long time. And what I mean by that is prices were good, yields were good. We did have some breakdowns, unfortunately. If you can go a whole season without breakdowns, you're a lot better person than I am. But had some breakdowns. We did have a couple times where it was kind of hard for us to get parts, but we were able to get them. There was never really a time where we had to sit for a long period of time. if we did break down, maybe a day or two here and there. But overall, I'd say after it was all said and done, this year was pretty good. And it was really good for a lot of the other guys around us too, which I am happy for them as well. Our area, I'd say, was overall a very productive area. So I'd say that this was probably a year that we will remember in years to come, just for the simple fact that, we needed a year like this. Now, it's just the only unfortunate thing about years like this, where the crops are good and the demand is okay and good, is that you normally have one year like this, and then after that, things are not normally as good in the years to come for quite a while. And the reason that I say that is because I remember, I believe it was either back in 2011 or 2012, where the prices for crops were phenomenal and through the roof. After that year happened, you guys all know as well as I do, the crop prices tanked and they stayed at a very low price for quite a few years. We had $2 to $3 corn, $6, $7 beans. If my memory is correct, I might have been a tick higher. I can't remember right off the top of my head. But we had low prices for a very long time and did not make as much money as what we normally do on a good year. And unfortunately, it stayed that way for a long time. That is the one downfall about when farmers have a very productive year, such as this year. At least that was the case for our area. That when you have a year like this, that normally leads to a few bad years as far as prices go. So it'll be interesting to see after, the year that we had, what will happen. Now again, I'm not saying that all places were productive like our area was. There were some places where crops were not great at all. So basically what it's going to boil down to at this point is it's going to, I guess we won't really know until every last farmer is done and every last bushel is accounted for, and people start coming out with the overall average for corn, beans, wheat, oats, barley, all that good stuff. So once everybody is done and numbers start coming in, that is when we will start to see how, the future years are going to play out for us. Now, the numbers could come in and maybe the prediction for total bushels are not as high as we thought they were going to be and prices stay the same, or it may be a good year for the whole nation as a whole and the prices tank again. I do not know. And we won't know until everything is harvested and we start seeing some numbers start to pop up with how we did as a whole overall. So, and again, just because our area had a good year does not mean that other people had a good year. So, I don't really want to base it off of our area as a whole, because even though we had a good year does not mean that other places did. So I guess as time goes by, we will just kind of have to take into consideration how everybody else did and just kind of see what happens here later on. Now, I've kind of been a little behind on how things are looking right now, and I should be better about that, but I have not been keeping up on it like I should. So I'm not really too sure how things are going right now, as it's been a minute since I've looked. So, kind of to conclude how our year went, once again, I'd say it was a pretty good year for the most part. And we will just kind of have to see what happens as the rest of this year goes on. We were very pleased with the yields that we saw, and could not have been any happier with how things were. It was a year that was needed. Let's put it that way. Just for the simple fact that we've had a lot of years where prices haven't been the greatest, and it's been really hard to make a dollar, especially with the way that inputs and cost of machinery is. So hopefully we can take advantage of the good prices and the good yields and actually be able to make some money this year. So I guess we will just kind of have to wait and see how things go. So, one of the last things that I kind of want to cover before I wrap this video up for the day is what the future has to hold for this channel. Now that things are kind of starting to wrap up and things are not going to be as crazy for me as far as my business goes, I'm hoping to be able to get more into the gaming aspect of my channel and get some gaming videos uploaded for you guys to watch, kind of like this. But I will probably, what will end up happening is, and will I fit across this bridge with the corn head on? I guess. So, and I'm no longer gonna make promises. I'm done doing that. Just for the simple fact that I say stuff and I end up not being able to follow through on said promises. So, what I'm going to kind of do is I am just going to kind of just go with the flow here and just kind of see overall what happens. If I'm able to upload more frequently, great. If I'm not able to upload more frequently, then that's just the way that it is going to have to be. Now, would I like to upload every day and more frequently? Absolutely. That has been my goal, to make this a full-time channel for a long time. But unfortunately, that has not been the way that things have panned out. So I guess what it's kind of boiling down to now is basically there's not going to be a plan for this channel. I'm going to upload when it is convenient for me, and if there's another long absence by me, then that's just the way that it's going to be. Because, like I said, there's some family things that are going on that I wasn't exactly planning on having to deal with this winter. Like I said before, family comes first. So it will be top priority to make sure that my family obligations are taken care of first. And I guess just to kind of give you guys a little idea of what is going on, it involves my grandparents on my dad's side of the family. And let's just say that Hurricane Ian kind of made things a little bit more difficult this year than what they normally are. Not saying that things are difficult every year. What I mean by that is Hurricane Ian kind of threw a wrench in our plans for this upcoming winter. And I'm just going to kind of leave it at that and not get into any more detail about it. And just kind of leave it at that. Those two things should pretty much sum up what I'm talking about. So, if you can't comprehend what's going on with those two things being spoken of, well, I'm sorry. So, I'm going to leave it at that. So, again, things I have to deal with that are more important are going to have to come first. And that is the way that this channel will always function. If I can't upload a video because of family, farm, and my business, then that's the way it is going to have to be. Now, some of you are probably wondering, well, why can't you just start uploading content about your business? And why can't you be better about taking your camera with you? That is my plan. That's been my plan for a while. But again, I don't want to make promises that I can't keep. I will try to be better about it. But again, there's a time and place for YouTube, and there's a time and place for life. We'll put it that way. I'll be the first one to say it. There are guys out there that are a million times more better at uploading videos to their channel than I am. And I'm happy for them, and I'm great that they're able to do that. But unfortunately, circumstances that are going on in my life right now are preventing me from being able to upload not as frequently as I would like. And I apologize for that. Trust me, I wish I could upload every day. I could make videos every day, and I'd like to get a nice steady flow of videos out to you guys. But right now, I just simply cannot. That's just because of the way that things worked out. And hopefully here in the future, I can be a little bit better about it. But right now, I have to focus on other things and just make sure that other things and other obligations are taken care of. Plain and simple. So, for those of you who still are subscribed to my channel, I appreciate it greatly. I am grateful for the subscribers that I have. And just kind of bear with me here, because there will be a point in time where I will be able to upload a little bit more frequently, I hope. Not saying I will, not saying I won't, because I've been there, done that plenty of times already, and I don't want to make promises that I can't keep, because that's something that I have also done here on YouTube. So to kind of conclude the future of my channel, my channel is not going to go anywhere. I will always make YouTube videos at my earliest convenience, and this will always be a quote-unquote hobby that I do. When I made this YouTube channel, I never intended it to be a huge channel. I never intended it to be something that I plan to make money off of. Those were not my intentions when I first started this channel. My goal for this channel was to make videos on YouTube of what it is like to work and live on a farm, to be able to spread the word of how a farm works. Because this world is so far separated from the ag industry, which is very unfortunate of me to say, because agriculture is the biggest industry in this nation. And it's just very unfortunate that nobody knows where their food comes from, their clothes come from, their medicine comes from, their heat comes from. And when I first made this YouTube channel, my YouTube channel was to be able to show you guys how crops are harvested, how fields are, prepped, and to be able to show you guys just how important agriculture is. Now, obviously, my family farm does not cover all aspects of the ag industry. We don't raise dairy, we don't raise cattle anymore. So I don't really get to show you guys the livestock aspect of it. This channel basically shows the grain production aspect of it. My videos are also made for people to ask questions. Now, I'm not going to make any promises and say that I'll be able to answer all of your questions, but I will try to answer them the best of my ability, because I don't care how many years you've been a farmer, I don't care how many acres you have, what kind of equipment you have, what kind of farm you live on. You do not know everything about the ag industry. Nobody does. Just for the simple fact that the ag industry changes so much that hold on a second. Keep on hitting the wrong button here. That farmers are constantly learning something new every day that they may not, be completely familiar in. I will be the first to tell you that I do not know everything about agriculture. I learn something new every day. And that is just how the ag industry works. The ag industry changes so often because there's always something new that is being used in the ag industry. Whether it's new genetics for a seed, new technology to put in your equipment, new equipment in general, farming techniques, different harvesting techniques, planting techniques, tillage techniques. Hence the reason why I've always said for years that there is not a right or wrong way of being a farmer. If it works for you, do it. Just because something works for me does not mean that it is going to work for you. And a prime example of that is, and this is usually my go-to because this is a very talked about topic, a very debated topic, and my auto steer is making me miss one row, go figure, is no-till systems. No-till systems is something that we do not normally practice here on the farm on a regular yearly basis. Sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't do it, sometimes we just do minimal till, and sometimes we do conventional till, and sometimes we do a mixture of both. 9 times out of 10, it's normally a mixture of both, because we have different soil types. And when you have different soil types, certain things that you can do to one kind of soil, you may not be able to necessarily do to another type of soil. Like I said before, we have sandy ground and we have heavy ground. Minimum till and no-till systems are a great thing to use on sandier soils. But when it comes to the heavier dirt, minimum till and no-till practices are not the greatest. We've tried them, and here it goes again. We've tried them. My X key is what turns on my auto steer on here, and apparently I'm not hitting Alt and X good enough to make it activate, and it wants to fold my corn head instead. Anyways, no-till systems does not work on the heavy dirt that we have. If we were to try and no-till our heavy dirt, it would be like trying to plant a blacktop parking lot. Now, the sandier soils are a different story. We can go through and we can no-till the sand and minimum till the sand, and I think it is a great technique of farming because it's one less pass that you make across your field, and it's less wear and tear on the equipment, and it's less fuel that you gotta burn. You don't touch it in the fall, you don't touch it in the spring, you just go through and you plant right through the residue, you spray it, and life is good. Versus working it in the spring, getting it planted, getting it sprayed, and working it again in the fall. And something else that just completely slipped my mind is you also got to take into consideration if you're raising corn, you got to put on your nitrogen. So right there is a pass that you got to make on your field. Whether it's ammonia, 28, whichever. You got to take that pass into consideration. And let's be honest, folks, the less amount of passes you make across your field, the less compaction you're going to have. Which is another reason why it's important that you don't get on your fields when it is wet. No matter what the condition, or not the condition, no matter what kind of soil type you have, because sandy soils can compact. They can compact, just like clay dirt. They can compact. So, in my personal opinion, you could do minimum till and no till for a couple of years, but after 4 or 5 years of doing it, and again, it also kind of depends on what kind of weather you have. If it were me, I would try to do minimum till and no till on the sand for as long as I possibly can. And if there's a year where we get a lot of rain and there was a lot of water that sat on the field and compacted the soil, I would maybe think twice about doing another year of no-till or minimum till practices, and would more than likely pull out the ripper and give the field a good rip. That is just my personal opinion on how I would take care of the sand up here. No till or minimum till for a few years, and then give it a good solid rip. especially if you have a year or two where a lot of water sat in spots for long periods of time and compacted the soil. If you're having that happen in year after year, then in my opinion, would definitely debate on pulling out the ripper and ripping up the field if it had a lot of water sitting in it. But that's just me. So, I suppose, with that being said, I think I am going to get out of here and wrap up this video for the day. So, to kind of bring this video to a wrap up, and to kind of summarize the things that I talked about in this video, is that overall we had a pretty good year from spring to harvest. Had a couple things that kind of made our year a little bit more challenging, but we overcame those challenges and still came out on top with a good year. Number two, I just want you guys to bear with me here like you have been, and we will see what the future holds for this channel, and if I can start uploading a little bit more frequently, great. If not, then that's just the way that it is going to be, because like I said, I have other obligations that are going on right now that I want to make sure are getting taken care of, and I want to put those ahead of YouTube. And then number three, as far as the future of this channel goes, it will always be here. I will always upload videos when I can, and this will always be a hobby of mine to do. I will not delete this channel, and even if it does start to grow and I start to get more subscribers, I really hope that I can get things turned around and start making this channel a little bit more active, I should say. And I would like to gain more subscribers. I would like to gain more views. I would like to gain a little bit more of an audience overall. But we will just kind of have to play all of that by ear and just kind of see how the rest of this year and into next year goes, and just kind of go from there. So, with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for the day. I think I've rambled on long enough. So, with that being said, I want to thank all of you for watching my videos, commenting on my videos, and don't forget to leave your comments down in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you have a quick second, hit that notification bell so that you guys can stay up to date with what is going on here on the channel. And again, just bear with me here, and together we'll see how this channel will go, and just kind of take it one day at a time, one step at a time, and just kind of go with the flow with things, and we will see what happens in the future. So with that being said, Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to get an upload up to you guys here again very soon.